We've already started having conversations with people to put together the team. And the important attributes for the campaign of that team is groups that were involved in both sides of the election, both the HARP campaign and our campaign, and people that have expertise across the different issue areas, whether it's housing, whether it's reentry, whether it's education, and people that reflect the diversity of the city. We also feel that it's important to not only have the traditional leadership and people that have a lot of experience in New Haven involved in the team, but also some grassroots folks, because we want to bring some institutional expertise to the team, and at the same time ensure that the team continues to have the spirit of the campaign, which is very grassroots focused. I don't want to get into details about who is going to be on the team. We're hoping to announce that pretty soon. But that's the spirit of what we're putting together as far as the composition of the team.
Do you have a sense of how big this team might be or when you might have it?
You know, there's a lot of tension between wanting to have a relatively small group because it's easier to get things done, but also wanting to be inclusive. I think we'll probably end up around 20 or so people.
And I know the mayor has currently recommended to the Board of Alders to put aside $75,000 to help with the transition, I think hiring a secretary at City Hall. Have you been in touch with the current mayoral administration about how you might use that money, or?
So not yet. I wanted to be respectful that the election was ongoing before starting that conversation. Our team is putting together a budget to get an estimate of exactly how much we will need for the transition, but we'll be working on that in the next couple of days.
Can you take us through the process of determining who in the present administration would be a fit for your first administration?
I don't want to get into specific names, and I also think it's important to understand that a lot of the director positions in City Hall are on 4-year terms, and they are 2 years in. So I can't just unilaterally go in and fire a lot of people, and I'm not saying that I would necessarily do that either, but it makes it a little bit more complicated to appoint new people when people are on 4-year terms. The spirit of the type of people that I want to appoint are ones that are ethical, have a strong background in the issue area that they're focusing on, reflect the diversity of the city, and are hardworking and accessible. And so I've been looking into, of those positions that I can appoint, the type of people that are going to fit that profile.
And there's a host of information that you're going to need from Mayor Hart for the transition. Do you have any timeline about when she intends to get some of that to you via meetings or a booklet or however?
So I plan on reaching out to her and setting up a meeting very shortly. I also understand that some city staff have already started preparing for the transition, putting together some reports. I know that 6 years ago, when John DeStefano handed over the city to Mayor Harp, that they had worked for many, many months on the transition, and that's because DeStefano knew he was not planning on running again. This time, the timeline is a little bit shorter, but I understand that there's already some of that in the works.
For your transition team and any subsequent appointments, are you planning on only looking at New Haven residents to appoint or hire, or are you looking outside of the city?
I'm casting the net wide. I think it's important to work to hire New Haven residents, and we actually have put up a website that's at justinelicker.com that provides an email address for people to email if they want to apply for a job within the administration, if they have suggestions of what priorities we should have or issues that we should focus on. You know, ideally we would have a lot of New Haven residents be a part of this administration, but for some of these positions it's challenging to hire. We oftentimes don't pay as much as the private sector does, and I want the best people for the job, and so I want to make sure that we're not cutting out people that could be really, really good fit for this job, and so I'm casting the net wide.
Some of those who were appointed, how do you plan to work with them to tackle some of the issues that you ran over?
I think the overwhelming majority of city employees are hardworking people that are working to do the right thing. And while I've heard from a lot of residents, you got to clean house, you got to clean house, I think it's important, particularly because you know, this is my first time being mayor, that the transition needs to be smooth, and some of that is keeping some of the folks that are in these positions. At the end of the day, the directors in city departments are working hard and they believe in what they're doing. And so I'm going to work as best I can with them to make sure that we can get the job done. We may not always agree exactly on the direction, and that will be a conversation with them to make sure that we are changing course in some areas of the city. But I'm looking to work with people that were a part of Mayor Harp's administration, and now in many cases will be part of mine if they decide to stay or decide not to leave.
Last night, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, when you talk about some of the supporters with Mayor Harp, how do you look to maybe steer them in your direction to see the path that you see for New Haven moving forward?
I think that a number of things. I think that the results of last night's election, it wasn't close. It was 70%, over 70% of New Haven residents that voted for our campaign. And that was a strong indication that people are ready to move forward. And I think an indication, even from those folks that maybe previously supported HARP, that they're interested in collaborating with my administration. In addition, at the end of the day, I think most New Haven residents are Democrats. We view the role of government in people's lives in much the same way. We have the same goals. We want high-quality education. We want housing enforcement that actually works to create safe environments for people to live in. We want to get our taxes in order. So the goal is the same. And sometimes the way to get there may be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, I think most people are looking to collaborate now and move on from this election.
Last night you told the story about the woman who said, don't forget about us, right? It was very powerful. I mean, what steps do you plan to take to ensure that is the case?
A number of things. First, I have spent a lot of time in the community over the last 10, 11 months, and I plan to continue doing that myself, both so I can be connected with the community, but I can also set the example. I will expect the city department heads and city staff to do the same thing. I will continue to use the same cell phone. I'm not going to change my cell phone so that I'm accessible myself. And I think it's critical that I bring in people in government that prioritize addressing the issues of every resident, no matter one's political connection. One thing I would add is that one of the consistent complaints I hear from residents around the city is that they will call about an issue, no matter how large or how small, and sometimes those issues are addressed, other times they aren't. And it may not even be because they don't have political connections, but it may just be that the city doesn't manage data well. And so this is something that I want to work on, to manage the city's data system better so that we can keep track of someone's request for a tree trimming or sidewalk fixing in a better way to make sure that we give people more predictability about when that might happen.
Could you describe your current working relationship with Board of Alders President Aisha Walker-Myers and aldermanic leadership, and what you plan to do over the course of transition to talk with alders to kind of build that relationship?
I'm excited to work with Alder Walker-Myers moving forward. I think that it's been interesting having been on the board and on the board when she was on the board. Most of the decisions that the Board of Alders makes are unanimous. There's very little time when we have some controversy. And so I think that moving forward, we're going to have a lot in common because we are both focused, and I know we are focused on the issues of improving particularly the lives of people that have not gotten the attention that they should have before, people that are struggling to get by. I plan on meeting regularly with Taisha. She consistently met with Mayor Harp on a regular basis, and I would like to continue that because I think that relationship and developing that relationship even further is really important to everyone's success.
I'm going to save a question for our state delegation. I remember talking to State Rep Roland Lamar a few weeks ago, and he said whoever wins the mayoral race needs to start working with state reps and senators in November, not wait for January to start kind of laying out a vision for what New Haven needs from the state in the short session.
Absolutely, and one of the things that will be tricky about this transition is that I need to have a budget ready March 1st, and now our team needs to be preparing for our state legislative agenda. And so there's a very, very tight timeline for us to prepare a legislative agenda that includes our state delegation, because we obviously need our state delegation to be on board, our Board of Alders, because it's important that we work as a team, and also reach out to the mayors of other major cities. I was on the phone this morning with Mayor Ganem. I've been texting with Mayor O'Neill in Waterbury, reached out to Luke Bronin, because I think these major cities need to work together to have a collaborative relationship and make sure that we have a shared agenda. Our major cities in Connecticut are really struggling financially, and if we work together as a team, we're way more likely to get things done for our cities.
We've spoken with residents about some of their key issues, and almost to a man or a woman, they've talked about education, and the upheaval, if you will, in the superintendent's office, I believe, including interims 4 in the last 3 years. I would think that's probably one of the items that tops your list to do.
Absolutely. It's something that came up over and over again talking with New Haven residents, and we've had a lot of turmoil in the Board of Education. There's been elimination of teachers' positions, guidance counselor, librarian positions. There was a debacle with the transportation system, and most recently we had the superintendent come up to an agreement with the Board of Education about her departure. I think that what's critical right now is some stability in the Board of Education. There's been, frankly, a lot of drama and disruption in the Board of Education, and what's very important is that we have some stability. My sense is that Dr. Tracy is going to bring that stability to the Board of Education, which is very important. I also am planning over the next month and a half to meet with every one of the Board of Education members to make sure that I develop and deepen those relationships, and we focus on a direction forward that invests in our kids.
Have you been in touch with anyone from Yale since when? I know one of the parts of your campaign was significantly higher voluntary contributions to the university. Mm-hmm. How does Yale factor into your transition?
Peter Salovey called me last night and left a message congratulating me, and we were emailing this morning about setting up a meeting. I think that relationship is also very, very important for the success of New Haven and Yale, and I plan on having a very proactive and collaborative relationship with President Salovey.
Do you have any general message? I mean, I know you addressed the public yesterday, but is there something that you want to share today?
Yeah, maybe a couple of things. One, I want this process to be inclusive, and we are very open to getting feedback from so many New Haven residents. You know, our team has been knocking on doors for a long time, so I think we have a good sense in general of what people are interested in. But at the same time, we want many more ideas and people to contribute to this process. Two is many of the challenges that I talked about on the campaign are very, very difficult to resolve. The financial challenges, the ability of the city to increase job opportunities, particularly for residents that have been struggling for many, many years. The Board of Education and the issues around that. And I think that this will take time. It will be challenging. As we all know, New Haven, the dialogue in New Haven is lively. But I think that at the end of the day, if we all are working together and have that end goal and have some patience, we will be able to accomplish a lot together.
One of the other concerns is sanctuary city with New Haven. I mean, do you have any plans for that? I mean, going forward?
So I'm a strong supporter of our status as a sanctuary city. Mayor Harp, a few weeks before the primary election, issued an order to require all departments, not just the police department, to not cooperate with ICE. I will continue that policy. There is legislation that many advocates are interested in the Board of Alders passing that will enshrine the sanctuary city status into law. I support that legislation and want to work with the Board of Alders. Ultimately, that decision lies within the Board of Alders. I will approve it if they pass it, and I will advocate and hope that they do pass that legislation.
Back in 2013, very close race with then candidate Harp. Why are you a better candidate for mayor right now? Why are you in better position to be mayor now than 6 years ago?
You know, I've spent the last 6 years running an organization that was financially failing and surrounded myself with a group of people that were highly qualified, and we turned that organization around. I've worked hard to connect myself more with the community and deepen my connections through the New Haven Land Trust, with our Schooner Youth Program, with our community gardens. I'm a dad, and I have two beautiful young girls, who one of whom is going to New Haven Public School. I've got skin in the game. I love the city so much more, and I think that makes me much more prepared to be the leader of this city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.